Viewers, I won't say, because I'm not given to triumphalism, that we should be feeling a sense of joy. But certainly, viewers, I think we should be feeling a sense of immense pride at what we've achieved. Viewers, never before has a nuclear weapons power made to look so effete, so weak by another nuclear weapons state. In fact, viewers, there's no precedence for what the Indian military has done. But unfortunately, viewers, over the last few days, the Indian military's finest hour is being sought to be robbed of its sheen by a familiar ecosystem. You know the usual suspects, viewers, I don't have to name them, who are investing all their energies to rake up pointless issues. They're choosing to believe the words of a man who's not even trusted by his own people anymore, of a leader of America who has barely 40% support left. Viewers, there are some amongst us who are asking for the inquiry to be reopened into the purchase of Rafales because they are so given to believe Western propaganda. I can tell you, viewers, that there's an whole ecosystem out there saying, oh, 3 Rafales fell, 4 or 5 Rafales fell, this, that, the other. But when you tell them, look at what we've done, they say, oh, but that is expected. When you tell them that we've knocked down F-16s, they say, show us the proof. Viewers, therefore, it breaks my heart to tell you that I'll have to begin with this show by talking to a Western analyst. A Western analyst who's going to certify why the world today is in awe of the Indian military, why it is stunned by it. Viewers, when I say that the world is in awe and that the world is stunned by our military, the claim is not unfounded. It is based in fact, hard fact. We begin with fresh satellite visuals on the right of your screens. I'm going to bring those loops to you. There you see them. You have never seen resolution like this of what we have done to Pakistan's air defenses and their air bases. These pictures, viewers, lay bare the blistering precision of India's armed forces. In a stunning display of military might and strategic dominance, India has struck deep. In some places, 135 kilometers deep into Pakistan, crippling Pakistan's aviation infrastructure in a master stroke that redefines the balance of power in the subcontinent, perhaps even in larger Asia. No wonder, viewers, the Prime Minister today expressed his fervent gratitude to the Indian military at the Adampur Forward Air Base, which is the home of the S-400 defense system. Viewers, just by going to Adampur, he has called out the entire ecosystem that believed, viewers, that Pakistan has wrought damage to an Indian airbase. The Pak ISI spun a story, ecosystem here believed it. So what, viewers, the Prime Minister had to do was to go to a frontline base at a time such as this, meet the troops, and in the process, walk you through the airbase and show you that it's fully functional. It's a statement of boundless power, of world-dominating military capability, and of India's unwavering resolve to protect its sovereignty. Viewers, satellites now confirm what the world did not want to see, and Islamabad feared: the humiliation of an enemy and the subjugation of its military aviation assets, and the rise, viewers, of the world's foremost military. India has risen today, viewers, You might call this justice or retaliation. No, viewers, this is a resurgence. Almost grounding, viewers, the attacks were so precise that they have grounded the very wings the Pakistanis boasted would challenge our skies. Runways lie scarred, hangars are gutted, fire jets rendered inoperative, not by chance, but by the calibrated force of Indian retaliation, a message delivered in fire and fury, that those who dare provide India will face consequences beyond their imagination. And the Prime Minister has said so, viewers. Listen in as he is surrounded by troops. He boosts their morale. He has had to do it, viewers, because there is, as I told you, a fifth column in this country that was beating down on our forces, sapping their morale with all their negativity. But anyhow, viewers, look at the Prime Minister. He's standing against the S-400. Why is he doing that? Because he's telling the world that the Pakistanis were spreading falsehoods by saying they had taken out our S-400 battery in Adhampur. That in itself is a fact check. Anyhow, listen to the Prime Minister, viewers.
पाकिस्तानी सेना के भरोसे ये आतंकी बैठे थे। भारत की सेना, भारत की एयरफोर्स और भारत की नेवी ने उस पाकिस्तानी सेना को भी धूल चटा दी है। हमारे ड्रोन्स, हमारी मिसाइलें, उनके बारे में तो सोचकर पाकिस्तान को कई दिन तक नींद नहीं आएगी। भारत पर आतंकी हमला हुआ, हम अपने तरीके से, अपनी शर्तों पर, अपने समय पर जवाब देंगे।
Viewers, Pakistan's military facade now stands exposed, its rhetoric drowned beneath the rubble of its own broken machinery. This strike is a turning point, not just tactically, but psychologically. India did not just dismantle aircraft, it dismantled the illusion of parity. Of parity, viewers, the Pakistanis always said they're either above us or they're just as good as us. And we believed it. We believed it, viewers, still, of course. The hard facts are looking back at you. Let me walk you through the evidence, viewers. I want to begin with Shukur, the post, the pre and the post. And these are visuals that have been taken by Maxar Satellite Company. Now, viewers, they show the extent of damage that has been inflicted upon Pakistani air bases. And Shukur, you can see there's that black strip, that's all the vegetation that has been burnt out. Why? Because as you can see where the red arrow is, the back of it, viewers, an entire hangar of several aircraft has been flattened, completely gone. Let's show the before and after photographs. We can get a sense then. There's Noor Khan, viewers. And if you zoom in closer, you can see that a whole area where jets and other important machinery was parked has been completely reduced to ashes, to dust. This is Sargodha, viewers, very close to Pakistan's nuclear command center. That crater there, viewers, is not small. If you just go back one, that crater is not small, viewers. It's massive, many meters apart. In fact, if you look at the visuals from the ground level that were taken by some Pakistanis, you could accommodate some 100 people in there. It's completely rendered that airfield inoperational. Viewers, let's look at the next one, because these are very important. Look at Bhulari. Look at that entire, and this, viewers, is a hangar where frontline quick response teams of the Pakistani Air Force were waiting for the call sign. And how do we know this? Because the access to the runway is very short. So it is obviously for a quick response aircraft. You come out and you take off. Viewers, at Bhulari, the government has just estimated that more than 50 Air Force personnel have been eradicated. More than 50, including a squadron leader. Viewers, let's have a look at the last but not least. And there are several, of course, as I told you, there are 13 sites. These are just the 5 most clearest. This is Jacobabad Air Base, viewers. There again, hangar gone. In fact, we are being told that several aircraft, 20% is what the government says, of Pakistani aviation hardware is finished. 20%. As the dust settles across the targeted airfields of Pakistan, one truth rings clear, viewers, more than ever. India will strike when it must, and when it does, it will win. That's not my assessment, but one made by the world's #1 military historian and military aviation expert, Tom Cooper. Let's go straight across to him now and speak to him. We are joined by Austrian analyst and combat aviation analyst and known historian Tom Cooper. The military historian, viewers, who went viral in India because he made certain very direct claims based on facts. And Mr. Cooper is here with us. Thank you very much for speaking to us, Tom Cooper. I want to begin by asking you whether you believe this was a clear-cut military victory. Look, we all realize that in the fog of war, truth is the first casualty. The Indian government has come out and said that it dominated not just the skies, but also in other ways the Pakistani military. Do you think this assessment is accurate?
Thank you very much for inviting me for this interview and for your time. A pleasure to be here with you. Regarding your first question, and actually also the second question, eventually, what is which government claiming or stating or explaining, it doesn't matter. What does matter is what we have seen whether on the TV or in the social media over the last 5-6 days. And this is that Pakistan has attempted to hit back in retaliation for Indian attack on terror camps inside Pakistan and inside Pakistan administered Jammu and Kashmir. And what happened as next? Pakistani counterstrikes were ineffective. There was no major damage. There is no evidence for major damage caused to Indian military installations. What have we seen after that? We have seen India striking into Pakistan, disabling ever more of Pakistan's ground-based air defenses. What have we seen as next? We have seen evidence of India intensifying its strikes, striking Pakistani air bases, and then also strong indication of India concluding the operation by striking major nuclear weapons facilities inside Pakistan. Now, again, what is which government, politician or whatever stating, whether in Islamabad or in New Delhi, is actually irrelevant, because what is relevant is evidence. And the evidence is that India has brought Pakistan so far that it could strike its nuclear weapon storage facilities, and Pakistan had no means to hit back. So now, considering that nuclear warfare is the ultimate type of warfare in general, there's simply no doubt about the outcome of this, whether you call it war or cross-border strikes or whatever. Excuse me. India has brought Pakistan to its knees. It's as simple as that. Clear-cut victory, yes.
Clear-cut victory. That's what you've mentioned, and that really went viral here in this country. Let me ask you this, because, look, I mean, we, of course, call it Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, so I just want to, for the sake of sensitivities here at home, make that clear. But the Pak the Pakistani defense system seemed to have been totally overwhelmed. That's what it appears, given the clear run we've had. But they have built their defense around Chinese air defense equipment. They also have, of course, a lot of equipment that was given to them by the Americans.
Yes.
So what does this say? Because we believe that this is cutting-edge technology. I mean, how could this have left them so vulnerable?
It is cutting-edge technology. There is no doubt about this. But the point is there is no wonder weapon of some sort which is winning instantly as soon as it's deployed. There is a solution against every single weapon. Crucial is just to obtain useful intelligence, so to say, against whether it's a radar or weapon, or air-to-air missile or aircraft or ground-to-ground missile, whatever it is. When you know how it works, you know how to counter it as well. And this is where the Indian intelligence, after, well, actually a failure early on, which was not really a fault of the Indian armed forces, but intelligence services and politicians. After this early failure, after this early problem, India has found solutions for Pakistani air defense system. It has found solutions for countering Pakistani Air Force and for countering Pakistani attack drones and ground-to-ground missiles and so on. This is crucial. There was a solution. The solution was applied. Pakistani counterstrikes were neutralized. India has hit terror camps inside Pakistan, has destroyed Pakistan's deterrent, neutralized it, and that is that. From that point of view, India could do inside Pakistan, and this is why it is so important. India could do inside Pakistan whatever it wanted to do, and Pakistan couldn't defend itself against that. That is why I call it a clear-cut victory, because if you come into my home and I beat you and throw you out, this is a clear-cut victory. It's as simple as that. And this is what has happened to Pakistan, of course, in different format.
Now let's just break this up, because this is a very interesting analysis that you're putting forth, and I haven't heard this clear analysis from anyone so far. So let's break this up. There are two aspects to it. Of course, Pakistan tried to hit us, tried to retaliate, sending wave upon wave of drones. They also put into the air JF-17s, etc. Now, obviously, those drones and whatever else they threw at us were blocked. We almost had the capacity of an Israeli Iron Dome. First, assess the Indian defense, and then I want to talk to you about something else that has been claimed in the international Western press. But first, do you think we've come to this stage here in India where we have assembled an Iron Dome kind of capability?
Considering the size of territory in question, I mean, consider the size of India in comparison to Israel. So it's entirely different magnitude of the task for the Indian air defenses and Indian Army air defenses. So you have managed to find a way. So these two branches have managed to find a way to, yes, block, whether to shut down or disturb through electronic countermeasures the Pakistani UAVs and Pakistani artillery rockets, ballistic missiles, and so on. So yes, it's a major achievement. Of course, what the Pakistanis have used was not as advanced as, for example, what the Iranians have used to hit Israel. It's a different story. But it doesn't matter whether it's advanced or not. It was advanced enough to counter what the Pakistanis could fire at India. It should not mean that Indian air defenses have shot down everything that came their way. On the contrary, it is certain that quite a number of Pakistani UAVs and missiles have came through and have hit their targets. But it was not enough. The mass of this weaponry that was fired into India was intercepted or blocked by electronic countermeasures. That is what matters. So this is one question. Excuse me, what was the second question?
Yes. So the Prime Minister came out and said that a mixture of tech and tactics combined beautifully on the Indian side. What does this actually mean? He left it at that, but I want to understand when he said tech and tactics.
Yes. I said every single weapon system, no matter who is deploying it, whether it's India or Pakistan, has its own performances, capabilities. That means as soon as you know these capabilities and performances, you can find a way to counter it. Whether this is working frequencies of its guidance radar or missile trajectories, speeds at which it is operating, and so on. So this is what India has eventually found out solutions. It has found solutions for Fateh-1, it has found solutions for UAVs, it has found solutions for whatever Pakistan was throwing at it. And this then means that India was able to block, to shut down, or to electronically disturb the work of Pakistani weapons. In similar fashion, India has found a way to push the Pakistani Air Force away from its border, so to enable its own fighter bombers to get closer to the border and shoot missiles like Brahmos, like Scalp and similar, deep into Pakistani territory. And what's more, the majority of these missiles were not shot down by Pakistani air defenses, but came through and hit selected targets inside Pakistan. This is something like, I think, 11 or 13 air bases plus apparently weapon storage facilities. This is what in military sense matters. What then some politician is explaining about this, how is he calling it, is de facto irrelevant. But what matters is what the military achieves. And this is what, in this case, India has achieved absolutely. No doubt about this. Again, how is the Prime Minister or Minister applied with the means to counter Pakistani defenses, whether defenses or offensive weapons? India has found solutions, can maneuver, has the space to maneuver, or has created itself space to maneuver and to hit back. And now it comes down to what is really, what really matters is Pakistan couldn't hit back on India. India could hit, almost everywhere where it wanted, eventually after 4 days of fighting. So this is what matters,
How exposed
Yes?
were the Pakistanis? How exposed were the Pakistanis? We've hit their radar positions. We, cratered their runways. How weak
Yes.
would they have been?
Well, this is why I call it a clear-cut victory. The moment the Indian Air Force started striking nuclear weapon storage facilities in Pakistan, it was absolutely clear that Pakistan is not entirely defenseless, but largely unable to defend itself from Indian strikes. Now, of course, the government in India, in New Delhi, and the top brass of the armed forces are cautious enough not to brag too much about this, even to deny it. But we have seen videos showing strikes on one of the, not actually, it's two different nuclear weapon storage facilities in Pakistan. This is speaking such a clear language. I cannot emphasize this enough. You do not play with enemy nuclear facilities. Nobody is doing that. Nobody is that irresponsible, and especially not rather conservative and, cautious Indian generals. They are not going to shoot all over the place and then by some kind of accident, one of the or two missiles hit. Well, what an accident. Precisely the entrance to the Pakistani nuclear storage facilities. Nobody's doing that. They're extremely cautious in this regards. So this means, precisely this caution means they're absolutely sure Pakistan can't hit back. Pakistan has no means to pull these weapons out and put them on missiles or on aircraft and shoot them at India. This is what is making this so sure.
So you've analyzed the data and the material out there, and you've come to a conclusion that we got very close to hitting their nuclear facility. This is what you're assessing.
This is my assessment, yes.
And how do we, with a degree of certainty, ascertain this?
Well, has Pakistan deployed nuclear weapons against India?
No.
No. Has it caused any kind of major damage to any kind of Indian Air Force base, for example, or a major army base, camp, or barracks, whatever you want to name it?
No.
Has it? No. You see, this is absolutely clear, son. Okay, now you can say, there is evidence that Pakistanis have shot down how many? 4 Indian aircraft during the first strike, during the opening strike, retaliation strike on terrorist camps. Almost no doubt about this, really. but that is also the next point. The strategists and decision makers in New Delhi were not too proud, but they didn't say, "Oh, let's continue the same way like we have opened this." But no, they were not too proud. They switched their strategy and said, "Okay, now all out. Start with the air defenses. Continue with Pakistan Air Force, and then hit the bases, hit the nuclear storage facilities." This is, from military point of view, this is making perfect sense. Actually, this is the only thing that is making sense. The way India has opened this affair by striking just terrorist camps inside Pakistan, but nothing else, that was not making sense. Why? Because in circles of people like me, everybody knows, no matter where, that in Pakistan, these jihadis and these terrorist groups are closely tied. They are supported, organized, financed, trained, and commanded by the inter-service intelligence of Pakistan. That this inter-service intelligence of Pakistan is also closely connected to the establishment of the country, to the 1% of people who are actually ruling 250 million of Pakistanis. So when you hit such a target, you don't, hit a little bit and then hope they are not going to hit back.
Right.
And this was the mistake at the start. But fortunately, New Delhi has figured this out and said, okay, and now, full all-out attack, knock out their air defenses, knock out their air force, or at least suppress it sufficiently for it not to matter, not to disturb our strikes, and then strike the air bases, strike the facilities.
Okay, finally, do you believe that all of this led to Pakistan throwing in the towel, raising its hand and saying that, look, we want a ceasefire? That's what you believe. And what about all these reports that have come out in the Western press, in the Telegraph, etc., saying that, India was blinded, its aircrafts could not take off and all of that? What do you make of that?
It is perfectly possible that Pakistan also deployed some kind of electronic countermeasures that are blinding one or another of Indian radar systems or other sensors. Absolutely not debatable. Right. There is no firm evidence for it, but that's a different story. But what matters is the outcome. And the outcome is Pakistan is getting, receiving blow after blow, but India is receiving no blow at all. And excuse me, in grand total, when you consider the scope of the outcome, it doesn't matter whether India has lost 5 or 50 combat aircraft. Important is that Pakistan was at the receiving end of Indian airstrikes and couldn't do anything against them.
Okay, well, this is as clear as it can get. Thank you very much, Tom Cooper, for sparing the time and putting the record straight, because that was much needed.
Network 18 decimates Times Internet with over 6 times more unique users on social media. Network 18, the undisputed leader of news networks, way ahead of the times.